As we discussed in our lecture, we can use arrays to store data or multiple values of data in one variable. And this means that we don't have to create as many variables throughout our programs. So imagine we want to create an array to contain all of the names of students in a class. Well, we can create a new array simply by creating a new string, but we also put these square brackets after the string. And then just as any other variable, we just create a name for our data value, students in this case. And we can assign some values to our array straight away. When it comes to retrieving these elements within our array, we've basically got to add square brackets and the index that we're trying to receive. So for example, if we wanted to output the first element, John, we've got to type students and then in square brackets the number 0. Because as we discussed in our lecture, arrays start at number 0, then 1, and so on. So if we run this now, we get our John out of it. If we change this to 1, we'll be able to retrieve Bob. Now this is a very simple array because we've only got one actual dimension, which is what we call these square brackets. If we created multiple dimensions, we would be able to add more data, which is essentially just the same as putting arrays inside of arrays. And let's imagine we're using our second dimension here to store the grade that each student was getting at the time in their class. So if we want to output this now, if we wanted to output John, we would have to look in the first element, which is 0, and then the first element again, which is also 0. And this will output John. If we want to find Bob, we're still looking in this first element, so this should stay as 0, but we would change this to 1. Similarly, if we wanted to find the grade of Bob, which is in the second element, which is numbered 1, we're looking in the second element of that element, which is also called 1, so we should be able to find B from this. And similarly, if we change that to 0, we should return A. So this is a good way to group data together, because all you need to remember is students, which is going to hold all of your data, and then which of these dimensions relates to which individual element. If you wanted to as well, you could change this to contain all of the information relevant to John in one big array and all of the information relevant to Bob in another. And this time you will be able to access each element differently. So in this case, all of the zeros on this second dimension are going to refer to the name of the element of the student, while each different student is going to be reflected by different indexes in the first element. There's not really a right or wrong way to do this, but the most important thing is that it makes sense to you and that you're able to easily identify what's happening at each point. I would suggest the first way of doing things would be more straightforward, but again, it's whatever makes sense to you which matters most.